Hello, hello, ladies. Welcome back for another beautiful session for the Women Thrive Summit. Can you believe it's actually day 5? We already been on this incredible journey this week, and this session is not going to be any less inspiring than what you have already seen. I'm excited about all those connections you have made, all the inspiration, all the love that our speakers have poured into you. But this session is all about self-love, about you loving yourself more and putting yourself as a priority. So today we'll be talking about how to create the life of your dreams through the power of self-love. And we have a beautiful speaker today, Crystal Timberlake. Hi, Crystal.
Hey, Ray. Hey, ladies. Thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you, Ray, for putting on this fantastic event. It's just been so many outpours of so many things. And I'm just excited, you guys. I'm excited to talk about self-love and what that's meant for me in my journey and how it can help you in your journey as well.
I think it's going to be so inspiring. I have heard personally your story, and we have had many conversations. And every time you speak, I feel like you touch my soul. So, ladies, you're in for an absolute treat today. So, take this moment to enjoy this talk. And for those of you who haven't met Crystal yet, I want to introduce her to you. So, Crystal is known for her unique abilities to inspire you through her spoken words and motivate you into action. Through her personal life experience and educational background, she educates and influences women to regain their power and take back the control in their lives. Crystal is a living witness that there is life after trauma and abuse. So I welcome you, Crystal, today. We will begin just shortly. I'll hand it over to you. But in the meantime, I want to say welcome to the session. I see Alberta, Alexandra, Alexis, Amy, Daniela, Aloho, Carrie, Mila, Shirley, Valerie just joined. Amazing. So what I'd love for you to do is introduce yourself in the chat. Let Crystal know that you are here to support her. Aloho says, super excited for your session. I'm excited for this, says Amy. Got some hearts. Hi, ladies, excited for your talk, Alexandra says, and Carrie's here. Amazing. So I will hand it over to you because I really can't wait for the session to begin. Are you ready, Crystal?
I am ready. I am ready. Thank you so much, Ray. Thank you so much, ladies. I see all of your comments coming through. Hello to all of you, Valerie, Carrie. I see you guys here, Mila, Alex. Thank you guys for all tuning in here. Alberta, hello, welcome you guys. I just want to just take a moment to celebrate you guys because when we think about creating our desired lives and the power of self-love, a lot of that takes a lot of external action. It requires us to step outside of ourselves and step into a realm that may be uncomfortable, step into this dimension that may be unfamiliar, step into this universe that you have never even experienced. So the fact that you are showing up for the Women Thrive Summit, you're here on my talk, you've probably been on the other talks, shows that you have decided. You have decided to say, I choose me. You have decided to say, I want to do something different. And I'm not afraid of getting uncomfortable to do something different. So I just wanted to celebrate you guys and make sure you guys take some time out to celebrate yourself as well, because this is such a powerful thing that you are doing in this year, in this time, in this moment. You are deciding to say, I choose me, and you're deciding to take control of your future, your destiny, your life, and the love that you have for yourself within. So as Raymonda mentioned, she gave me a beautiful introduction. Sometimes I just like to sum that up in a very simplistic way. I have been destined, I have been purposed, I have been created to help women go from dreaming about their future to actually living out their fantasy. Simple as that. And I have been created to do this not just because of the things that I've learned or the accolades that I've gained over time, but because I have been exactly where you are. I have done the work, I've walked the walk, and I have had to get to a place where I needed to learn how to love myself. Okay, I had to look myself in the mirror and say, you know what? The difference between where you want to be and where you are is you and your ability to show up for you and love yourself unconditionally. So what if I told you guys you have the power to create your desired life and that you can indeed have it all? Literally, you can have everything you want. If I told you that, would you believe me? Sitting where you are right now, let me know in the comments. Do you believe that you can have it all? Or are you still on the fence of thinking maybe this life wasn't cut out for you? Maybe you've been dreaming too big. Maybe you have been through too much. I want to remind you all that you are not beyond redemption. That is number one. Put that in the comments. I am not beyond redemption. Why do we have to say that to ourselves? Because I want you to know that regardless of what you've been through in your life, regardless of how many terrible or tragic or even traumatic or toxic experiences you have, you are not beyond redemption. In fact, every life experience is a part of your process. It's building you up and creating a new you, the you that you were always destined to be. So I need you guys to know, I see all these I am not beyond redemption. I love it. I love it, you guys, because you are not. All of these life experiences have been sent to create exactly what it is that you should be and who you should be in your life, okay? So let's talk about how we can create our lives through the power of self-love. You know, I like to share a story with you guys, but first I want to say, we've all been through a valley, right? And that valley is that traumatic event, that part of your life where you feel like you literally hit rock bottom, right? There was nowhere else to go. And here's the thing about hitting rock bottom, you guys, you only have two options. And those two options is face everything and run, or face everything and rise. And we know these these two statements are an acronym for the word fear. So we can take that word fear and lean into it in a way that leaves us afraid and makes us run away, or we can lean into that word fear and be audacious about it, step out boldly, put ourselves in uncomfortable situations to expect the unexpected and become all that we have been destined to become. And we do that by facing it all and rising. This is your opportunity to make a choice. This is your opportunity to choose peace, to choose hope, to love yourself. It is your chance to say, I choose me. I choose my future. So I want to tell you guys about a time where I had hit my rock bottom, where there was no lower that I can go. I was in my apartment. This was about 10 years ago, and I was facing eviction. I had lost everything, my car, my job, my apartment, everything, my identity, myself, my soul. I had nothing left. I was a shell of a being. I had realized in that moment that I hit rock bottom. That was the lowest that I could go. I had nothing left. There was no further down I could go. It was either I had to choose life, a life that was unfamiliar to me at the time, or I could choose death. But here's the thing. I had already tried suicide 3 times before and it didn't work. And you know what they say, the true definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. See, that's where I realized I was in this cycle that I like to call living my life on repeat. I was doing the same thing over and over and over again, getting the same result. Each time digging myself in a deeper and deeper hole, and each time losing pieces of myself more and more. I had been in a domestic violence relationship. I had experienced rape and sexual abuse and many other things. I was betrayed and I was the betrayer. My life was a mess. If you have ever been in the situation where your life has just been a mess, this is where I need you to remind yourself in that moment that you are not beyond redemption. So the only thing I had left was to either live or die. And I had to choose something different, something scary. So it was my time to say, I choose life. I choose me. I want to live. I didn't know what that was going to look like. I didn't know what that was going to turn out to be. My entire years prior to that looked like failure after failure after failure. I didn't have a father who was present. My mother was full-blown schizophrenia and she couldn't take care of me. It was me against me in that moment. but I only knew what I knew. But what I did know was that the little girl in me, before all the brokenness, before all the trauma, before all the domestic violence and sexual assaults and all of the things, that little girl used to have hope for the future. Regardless what it all looked like. See, when I was growing up, I lived in shelter after shelter after shelter. We lived in the shelter more as I was growing up than we ever had a place of our own to live. So you can imagine how much of a burden that I was carrying with me into adulthood, because I started to see me as the person who didn't deserve. I started to see me as the person who could only amount to what she had been seen, or what she had seen in life. And later on in life, I learned that your exposure changes your expectation. This is why I'm putting a demand on you all who are watching this talk today to understand that every time you expose yourself to something new, you change your expectation about life. So in that moment, I had to go back to the little girl who still dared to dream. This was Crystal at about 6 or 7 years old, who used to think that the sky was the limit. And even the sky wasn't the limit, because the sky was limitless. That was the girl I had to go back to. That was the girl I had to reach back into and look at her and dare to dream big. See, in the psychology world, we call this reparenting. We call this really going back into those moments and telling yourself all the things you needed to tell yourself so that you can succeed and create a new reality for you. I didn't know that's what I was doing at the time, but that was the only option I had, because that was the only exposure I had to my future. That was the only opportunity that I had to see life differently than what I could see with my natural eye. It was the only opportunity that I had to see myself higher, see myself as more than just someone who deserved to be beat on, or someone who deserved to be disposed of, or someone who deserved to just continue to live her life in a cycle of mess up after mess up after mess up, because that's what my life was amounting to in that moment. So when I decided that I was going to choose me, I decided that I was going to go back to that dream, that 6, 7, 8-year-old dreamer in Crystal, and say that, you know, maybe I should give this a try. I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know what the journey is going to be like. I don't know what is destined to come of this, but I had to do something different, because what I had been doing was resulting in the same thing. I was living my life on repeat. And this is where I like to tell people that in order to break the cycle of something that you don't want to continue to be a cycle, you got to disrupt the process. And in order to disrupt the process, it requires you to do something different. Dare to be something different. Dare to try a different route. There's a fork in a road. Instead of going right, because maybe that's the direction you always try going left. See where that road will take you. And that is exactly what I did. So in the moment of me packing up my apartment, I checked the mailbox for the last time. My abuser at the time sent me a letter from jail, because of course there was that too. And the first line of his letter said, be something, 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 something. And I couldn't even read the rest of the letter, because in that moment, I decided that I was not going to be somebody's B word. I wasn't going to be degraded by any man. I wasn't going to allow those words to be spoken into my life ever again. I so gently folded that letter back up into its threes, stuffed it back in the envelope, and put it in the trash that I took out of my apartment for the last time on the last day. And it was in that moment that I said I was going to choose myself, and I was going to choose whatever life had for me that was different from what I had been experiencing in that moment. And with $300 and something in my pocket, I decided that I was going to go back. I was going to travel about 600 miles away from home and start over. I didn't know how far $300 was going to take me. Heck, that wouldn't even cover a month's rent anywhere. But it was enough for a Greyhound bus ticket and an opportunity to go find a job to start brand new. It was scary, you guys. It was scary. But you see, the pattern in the story is not about me being afraid of change. It was about me loving me enough to give myself a chance, to give myself an opportunity to do something different. The part of my story that I didn't share was when I was 15 years old and my mom had her final psychotic break, I moved to Minnesota, the same place that I came back to when I decided to choose me. And I lived here for about 9 months with my father, who got full custody of me and disposed of me, sent me back to Chicago with no guardian, no parents, no money, no nothing. So in that moment when I was 15, I became bitter about my parents, bitter about my life. My question was always, why me? Why does this have to happen to me? I didn't ask to be here. I didn't ask to go through any of this. But remember what I said in the beginning of this talk. Your exposure changes your expectation. And we'll get into this a little bit later, but everything that happens in your journey has a purpose. It is all significant to the life that you will create, the life that you will become. See, at 15, where I thought that life was over because my father, who never wanted me, didn't want me again, he made it abundantly clear, and that I was going to be destined for doom for the rest of my life, God was using that opportunity to expose me to where he was going to place me in my future. It wasn't about that moment. Even though we get stuck in the moments of life, we have to understand how everything is working together for your bigger picture, your future, your becoming. And that's what this is about. See, if I would have been so bitter about what had happened when I was 15, at age 20, when I found myself coming back here, I wouldn't have been able to swallow my pride and swallow my past enough to expose myself to what it was that was already being divinely laid out for me. I was exposed to a life when I came here for 9 months. I was exposed to my future when I came here for 9 months. And although those 9 months were chaotic and they broke me into many more pieces that I later had to put together, it was all a piece of the puzzle to where I was going in my future. So when I packed up and I rode the bus back to Minnesota to start my life all over again with the 300 and some odd dollars in my pocket, I had one thing. I had my decision to choose me. That was number one. Well, I guess I had two things, and I had a hope that by me doing something different this time, that I would get a different result. And so that's where it all began, you guys. I would love to say that that was the beginning of how everything, or that was the beginning of the ending of everything becoming what you see today, the girl that you see today. But that was the beginning of me doing the work, saying that I choose me. It took for me to deconstruct and reconstruct my value system. See, what we have to know is that our values are the foundation of life. Whether we know it or not, our values are dictating the decisions we make, whether it be consciously or unconsciously. So you have to know where your values are coming from. Are you picking up values based on what you were told in your past as a child? Are you following the values of your family, your parent, your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters? Are you following the values that you saw in your community, in your environment? That's what we talk about nurture versus nature. What values have you adopted in your life? And that was where I had to start evaluating. See, my childhood, my life experience, that nature and nurture piece of me told me that I would never amount to anything. It told me that you will just live in shelters for the rest of your life and live on government assistance for the rest of your life. You'll never amount to anything. Not only did my life tell me that, but people told me that. So at some point, I started to adopt those words as truth for me. And they became a value, which meant that my foundation was built on brokenness. It was built on the same words that tore me down and tore me into a million pieces. So now I had to get to a point where I had to look at myself and say, okay, if I'm really gonna love me, I gotta know what is the foundation of me. What is the thing that is driving every decision, consciously and unconsciously? What is the thing that is creating the life that I either love or the life that I dread waking up to each and every day? It's your foundation. Your values are your foundation. And as I started to pick apart all of the things that I called values, what I realized is that none of them represented who I wanted to be. All of them represented what I was told about me. So let me ask you guys, when is the last time you've taken the time to deconstruct and reconstruct your values? When is the last time you have taken the opportunity to say, hey, is this a value that I was taught growing up because this is what was enforced in our house? Because I'm going to tell you one of the biggest values that I had to shed myself from. Many of you guys can probably relate, but one of the biggest values that I grew up with was what happens in this house stays in this house. Now, y'all probably didn't heard this before, but let me tell you something about that value. While I can see how my parents and the people around me had good intentions with that, but that same value kept me from telling my mom that I was being sexually molested by my cousin for 7 years. That same value kept me from telling the truth when people would ask, why did I have a black eye or a bruise on my forehead or bruises around my neck? That same value was keeping me in a place that made me feel like that was all I deserved. That same value. So I had to take it upon myself to recognize how the same value that had been instilled in me for my entire life was actually creating the tornado that kept hitting in my life because I refused to speak, because I refused to tell my truth, because what happens in this house stays in this house. So that means that nobody needs to know what's happening behind these doors. And that was the very thing that almost cost me my life. The last interaction I had with my abuser, he literally left me on my apartment floor for dead. Literally. I was lifeless under the weight of his body for I don't know how long. In that moment, I prayed to God, Lord, just take me now. I am so sick of fighting. I don't have anything left in me. And this was the first time that him and I had had a fight to that capacity where there was no one there but me or him. When I recognized in my prayer that I asked God to take me from that moment, he didn't take me, obviously, because I'm sitting here before you. But what he did was he took the very thing that kept me stuck in that situation. He took the very thing that told me that that's all I deserved, and he gave me a rebirth. He gave me a renewed mind that made me decide that I am worth so much more. I was destined for so much more. So while I prayed for death in the natural, I died in the spirit realm. I started to let go of all of the things that told me that this was all life had to offer, that this was all that life had destined for me. In that moment, I became a new me because I decided that if I didn't die on that apartment floor, that it must be something more for my life. It must be something that God has for me. So I didn't have all the answers, but I had the power within me. I had the boldness within me to say that I can create my desired life. I can be the author of my story. See, my values were being the author of my story before, even though they weren't even values that I created for myself. They weren't values that I created for myself, which is why it's so important for you guys to do the work and figure out what are your values rooted in. They're literally the foundation of your life. The very floor you sit on, the very floor you stand on. When you stand up, you don't expect that floor to collapse. And your values being the foundation have to be just as strong, just as sturdy, so that you know that you can make sound decisions for who you are. And you do that through loving yourself. You do that through knowing that you deserve more. And after you evaluate your values, the next thing I had to do was evaluate my beliefs. See, your beliefs are the very thing that dictate the way you see you and the way you see the world around you. See, my values was all messed up, but so were my beliefs. Because my values were built on things that were lies and built on things that were broken pieces, fragmented pieces of my past, that meant that my beliefs, remember, that's the way I see me and that's the way I see the world around me, were also fragmented and broken. So when I would look at myself in the mirror, I would tell myself, this is all you deserve. This is all life has for you. This is all the world sees you as. See, I used to tell myself that, well, I guess I'm just going to live up to the statistic that everybody says about little Black girls from Chicago. That was my belief. And because that's what I believed, it was supported by my foundation, which was my values. And you see how the cycle just keeps repeating itself because of the things that you value and because of the way that you see yourself, the things that you believe about yourself. This is why we have to start deconstructing and reconstructing the values and recognizing how your beliefs support your values. So if your values are broken, then so will your beliefs. You have to get to a place and a point where you can see that life has so much more to offer for you. In the beginning of this talk, I said, what if I told you you had the ability to create your life, the life that you desire? That's a belief. It took me a while to get there, but I had to go through my values to figure out why my beliefs were all jacked up. But once I got through my values, I was able to look at that statement and say that statement to myself. What if I had the ability to create the life that I desire? Think about how you show up in the world when you believe that you can be the change you want to see. When you believe that you can do what you need to do for you. Think about how you start to present yourself. No longer do you show up into places and spaces where you feel like people are just tolerating you, but you show up into places and spaces as if this is where you belong. This is where you were destined to be, and that you add value to that area. That's what happens when you change your beliefs. That's what happens when you recognize what your foundation is built on. That's what happens when you start to say, I believe in me. Because if you believe in you, guess what? The world around you will believe in you. The world around you will start to see you higher. But you got to see yourself higher first. We can't go out into the world and convince somebody of something that we don't even believe in. We can't go out into the world and convince the world to believe in a thing that you still are teetering the line on. You're not quite sure of. One thing I learned for certain in this journey is that if you aren't sure, then they aren't sure. So what you present to the world, meaning you, changes the trajectory of where you're going. It changes the trajectory of your future. All of this is done through that self-love. All of this is done through recognizing that not only are you valuable, but that you have the power to create. You have the power to be all that you want to be. It doesn't matter. As I mentioned before, I recognize that not only was the sky the limit, but even the sky was limitless. See, when we're down here on earth, we look up, we see the clouds. But when you get on an airplane, what happens? You go above the clouds and there's a whole new dimension of the world. And then you look up and you still see air. You still see the sky. The sky is literally limitless. But you have to be able to see that and know that you can create that for you. So you guys, this is all to say that each part of your journey is building you. It is building strength. It is building steadiness. It is building durability so that you are built to last. Your process does not determine your purpose in life. Your purpose determines your process. Hear me when I say that. Your purpose is determining your process. So the bigger your purpose, the wilder your process, because you have to be built to last. You have to be built to be durable, to be steadfast, to be strength, to be strong. Okay. This is your foundation for life. So if you're looking at your situation and you're like, I'm not sure how I can turn this around, take a note out of my book, The Girl Who Grew Up With Nothing. I didn't even have shoes to fit half the time as a child. I had hand-me-down clothes, and I lived in more shelters than I can count on both hands. Take a note out of my book and know that you are not beyond redemption. Everything that you went through was building you for where you're going, okay? This is what I call your valley experience. Everything that you've gone through, that valley experience, it is what's building you for your becoming. That valley experience is your becoming. The becoming of the true you, the becoming of the new you, the becoming of the whole you. But before you can sprout up, you have to dig down deep. That's the values. That's your beliefs. Those are the things you got to start digging up and digging up and digging up within you before you can start to see yourself as who you truly are. Think of a plant. Before a flower becomes a flower, you have to dig a little to plant that tiny little seed in the ground, and it yields you a beautiful harvest of flowers. Even a tree, the very thing that we look outside of our windows and see, the very thing that we can't live without. A tree started off as a tiny little seed that had to get dug into a hole. You dig up some dirt, you make some space, and you plant that seed. And years upon years later, you have this very mature tree, the very thing that gives you breath. That's you. Think of yourself as that. Start digging up some of those things that should not be in place and plant, root yourself in soil that shows you what you can become. You got to be able to see yourself where you're going before you get there. That's why I had to go back to the little girl in me and see what she used to see. It was through me dreaming and visualizing where I could be that allowed me to become all that I am. So don't look at your value or your valley experience as the breaking of you, because your valley experience is actually the making of you. Take your story and build with it, because the story of your past is what it is, but the story of your future has yet to be created. So don't forget where you came from, because where you came from has prepared you for where you are going. Your life was literally made for you, what it is that you are to become. Your life was made for you to prepare you for exactly what you are to become. So if you're wondering what your purpose is in life, I dare you to take a look back on the journey. Take a look back on that valley experience, because what you've been through has prepared you for what you are destined to be in your life. It gave you strength. It gave you courage. It gave you durability. It gave you the very foundation that you need to become all that you know you can be. Let me share a little secret with you guys. You have a 100% success rate. Think about it. You literally have a 100% success rate. The fact that you are still living and breathing and watching this broadcast today lets me know that everything that life has thrown at you, you have conquered, you have overcome, you have built upon, you've learned, you've grown, you've become a new you. You've recognized your strength in the process. So you have to recognize that you are not going to just stop succeeding today. So why give in to defeat? Because that's just what your mind is telling you. But if you do the work in your values and do the work in your beliefs, you will see that through that power of self-love, you can be whatever you want to be. But sometimes we got to remind ourselves of who we are. You've already accomplished a lot. So what makes you think you can't do what's next? What makes you think that you cannot create your desired future? So type that in the comments. I have a 100% success rate. Let that sink in. See, sometimes we got to write things out to make sure that it really clicks. So I need you guys to write that. I have a 100% success rate. You're already built for the journey to come, because when you look back on your past, you've already done the work. Your past has already showed you what you're capable of overcoming. So what's the worst that can happen? Because many of you are either in your worst that can happen, or you've overcome your worst that can happen. So you literally can do anything that you put your mind to. So I want you guys to know, if you're somebody who is searching for something higher, something, your purpose, your overall purpose, you want to know, how do you take that valley experience and turn it into vision? How do you turn that pain into purpose? You have to just take a minute to, first of all, decide that this is what you want to do. Decide that you are capable of doing it. Decide that no matter what, you will succeed. Because your creator has already destined for who you are to become. The path ahead has already been laid out for you. But when you look back, do you see defeat, or do you see how you've conquered life, how you've grown, how you've become more of who you are, how you have developed into this whole person that could have never been had you not walked this journey out? See, we were all made up of 3 parts: mind, body, spirit. When we talk about self-love, that has to do with your mind, your body, and your spirit. See, it's a mental thing that is displayed through our actions, so the way we move, the way we show up, and our spirit, which is our character, the thing that dwells within us. All of us are always searching for something that is higher than ourselves. For me, I know that my higher power, my creator, is God. For you, you got to decide. However, when you tap into that thing that's higher than you, that is when you start to recognize who you are. We know that we are all fearfully and wonderfully made, that we have been graced with the ability to create whatever it is we desire. And that includes the life that you dream about. Everything you need is in everything you have. Write that in the comments. Everything I need is in everything I have. Everything in your life has prepared you for this very moment. Your future has not been created yet, because it's waiting for you to show up and create it. Now, we know the future exists, no doubt about it, but the one that you want, the one that you desire, the one that you dream of, is waiting for you to step into position and create it. Now, you don't want to just show up to the future and get whatever it has to offer. You want to get yourself in position where you can start dictating the things of your future, dictating the things that you know that you want for your life. And there's only one way to do that: by deconstructing and reconstructing those things that have been dictating your life, and ultimately leaving you in a place of dissatisfaction of who you are and what you have become and what your life has yielded up into this point. That's that pivotal moment where you have to look in the mirror and say, no more. That's that pivotal moment where you have to look in the mirror and say that I'm going to choose me. I'm going to do something different. And I know that I'm able to. So you guys, I created a special purpose roadmap for people who are in that place, in that pivotal space, wondering, how do I start creating the life that I desire? How do I get from where I am to where I'm trying to go? How do I turn that pain into purpose? This roadmap is for you. It's for you to start doing the work that you were created to do. Start looking at your past and unraveling some of those things that don't align with who you truly are, don't align with what your future is destined to become. They don't align with who you see yourself as. If you click the link that just was dropped in the comments, you can get that roadmap, and it'll walk you through a 4-step process on how you can take control of your life, how you can start changing your story, how you can ultimately create the life that you dream about through the power of self-love. I want you guys to know that you have everything you need for this journey ahead. You've already conquered yesterday. Now it's time to align yourself for tomorrow. And every single one of you were created with purpose on purpose. Every single one of you were created with purpose on purpose, which means everything about your being was intentional. Everything about your creation was meant to be. Everything about your process was designed for you to start creating the future that you desire. We know that we've all been created for life and godliness. We know that we've all been created to do whatever it is we set our minds out to do. These are promises that have already been given to you. And one thing I know about my creator is that he don't renege on his promises. He said what he said and he meant what he said. Now it's up to you to have a little faith in you to do something different. Step out in boldness. Step out and have the audacity to change something in your life. Because that's what I did. And you know what? Some people fell to the wayside, but the things that I gained in the process, they have so much value that they're valueless. You can't even put a price on them. And that's what will happen. That is what will happen for you in the process. So for you guys who are feeling like, you know, all right, I got the purpose roadmap, I downloaded it. What's next? How do I really get an executionable plan? How do I really get into formation of really creating the life that I desire and doing the things that need to be done? How do I take this pain and make sense of it and have a purpose? For you guys watching this summit or even catching the replay, I've opened up a few spots for you to have a 30-minute call with me. We are going to have a breakthrough session. Why do I call it a breakthrough session? Because it's your opportunity to break through what was into what is. It's your opportunity to say, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to start breaking all the boundary or the borders and the walls, the boundaries that have been placed in my way in the beginning, and start creating what is to become. So I invite you guys to click that link that was just dropped in the comments and book your session today, because you don't want to look up next week, next month, the end of this year, and find yourself exactly where you are. What did I say earlier? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Don't be that person. Don't let your life just continue to slip away. Don't you dare tell yourself that you've done too much, that you cannot be saved now. There's no changing now. Because look at me. Look at me, a person who's been broken and have broken people in my process. I'm no saint, but yet I still wasn't beyond redemption. But yet, here I am, living out my desired life. But yet, here I am using my voice. The most powerful thing you have is your voice. And the first thing you need to do with that voice is tell yourself, I choose me. So I just want to thank everybody for coming on in. Raymonda is going to hop back on the screen here in just a moment. And if you guys have any questions, drop them below. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. I'm happy to answer anything that you may need. Drop them below. This is your time. This is your opportunity to be bold and audacious and do something different. I hope that this talk has motivated you in ways that you've never had exposure to. Because what did I say? Your exposure changes your expectation. So dare to be different. Hey, Ray, welcome back.
Wow. Can I just say I was just glued to the screen, hanging on to every word. Ladies, please Let's see you in the comments. How have you enjoyed this talk? There's so many gems. I want to go back and replay and pick out all the amazing quotes from this and quote you on our social media. Nura says, unfortunately, I can't make it to the times available in the call. Nura, why don't you connect with Crystal? Drop her a DM, see whether there is a time that she can make available for you. Amazing. Everything I need. Everything I need is everything I have.
Yes.
Everything is already within yourself. Your story has been so powerful. How can someone go through so much and keep rising up and keep rewriting the future and standing on the stage right now as a testimony of what is possible? All the pain, don't let it define you. All the things that you have been through, your families, all those experiences, don't let it shape you. And there's a quote by one of my mentors, Les Brown, that says, don't let the negativity given to you by the world disempower you. Instead, give yourself that which empowers you. And if you don't program yourself, life will program you.
Yes.
So gotta rewrite it, rewrite the programming, change it. Don't be
Yes.
stuck in that story. You're poof.
Yes.
Just read some of your comments in a minute.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Goodness. I love that quote. Thank you so much for sharing, because you know what? We have the power to create our own story. We do. I mean, what has happened to us has already happened, but that could stay at chapter 1. Why don't you create chapter 2 until? We have that power. We have been created with the power to define ourselves in any which way we choose to define ourselves. So that's just so powerful. I want to go back to the comment above where she said none of the times available work for her. Please send me a DM. I think they dropped my Facebook and my Instagram there. Let's get together on the sidelines and see. I'm sure I have something available. Those are preset times, but I can definitely create something for you. So reach out to me. I don't want you to get lost in the process. I want you to know I acknowledge you and I see you. And congratulations for saying, I choose me. I choose my future.
Wow, so powerful. I want to read some of your comments, and for those especially who are watching this on replay will not get to see it. Shirley says, very powerful and inspirational. Ellen, inspirational. Thank you, Crystal. Amy, your values build your foundations. Whose values is that foundation built on? That was profound. That was truly profound. Thank you so much for your vulnerability. Delphine, is it Delphine? Colette, this was a completely on point on every level. Thank you, Crystal. This was awesome. Alexandra, if you don't program yourself, your life will program you. Powerful. Carrie, it is only a story. You can write whatever story you want. And thank you so much. Powerful and inspiring. Still have goosebumps. I agree. This was awakening. I needed this today, Nura said. I've been watching the comments, and Crystal, I just want to say thank you for being on this platform and openly sharing your story. I know some parts of the story you have never shared on stage before. And in fact, when you have applied to be on this stage, you indicated that you're a first-time speaker. You haven't really explored many stages before. So I just want to congratulate you for stepping into your power, stepping into your voice, using it to empower, inspire other people, because your story is so valuable, so powerful. And I just have the honor of having been on the sidelines and through the process to watch you grow and hear your story behind the scenes, and encourage you to share it with the world. So I honor you and appreciate you for being here.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And thank you to all the ladies who tuned in and listened from beginning to end. This was just my story is just one of many amazing stories that have been shared throughout this summit. And oh my gosh, my socks have been blessed off, okay? Because these women have been bringing so much fire, and it's just been such a dynamic experience. So thank you for inviting me here, but just thank you for creating this space, because women like me and women like the ones watching this live and on the replay, we need this community. We need a place where we can start to see ourselves higher and see our life, look at our lives and know that there is possibility for more. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know, but that's why we got to get exposed to something bigger, something bolder, something more vibrant than the thing that we can see that's right in front of our face. So thank you so much for this opportunity in this space.
Oh my goodness. Well, I hope to see you again on our platform. Crystal, this was absolute pleasure and honor to host you on our platform. Ladies, thank you so much for tuning in and being part of this talk today, and your encouragement, your support, your participation. Follow up with Crystal across her social media channels. Take advantage of this amazing offer that we have for 30 minutes conversation with Crystal. I think it's going to change your life and help you transform. Remember to put yourself first. This is
Yes.
you, right?
I just want to say one thing before we hop off. For those of you guys who upgraded your tickets to VIP status, there is a swag bag offer that I have in there. And the very thing that we talked about today, your values, your beliefs, and one thing that we didn't even hit on was your boundaries. I have a 3-part training that you have access to if you are a VIP ticket holder, that will walk you through the very questions that you need to ask yourself to start getting in alignment and really deconstructing and reconstructing those values and those beliefs. And finally, putting the icing on the cake, which is our boundaries, because your boundaries are set to be a hedge of protection of the very thing that you've created, your foundation. So I hope that you guys enjoy that. And that is something that is available to those who are VIP ticket holders. So if you're not, think about upgrading so you can get a part of these amazing additional offers that are available, not just from me, but all the other women here too.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your generous gifts. Ladies, I hope you take advantage of this beautiful offer by Crystal. If you do have VIP ticket, hop in there and grab yourself access to it. If you don't, like Crystal said, this is an amazing opportunity to upgrade now and get yourself bonuses and also replays. I'll be definitely going back to watch this on replay. Thanks, Crystal. We're going to hop over to the next session with Monica Zampa now. Why powerful women enter toxic relationships and the importance of being financially free as a woman. Monica has a beautiful story to share with you as well, and super empowering session that we are going to be having next. So make sure you stick around. Crystal, thank you, and we'll see you again very soon.
Bye.